Literally minutes ago, Bump, we have an interesting answer on a similar question from John Schneider. Before I tell you what John said and before I tell listeners what John said, what did you make of Mike McDonald's answer there to Aaron?
I think it was real. I think that, and that was a couple of days before Geno got that,
yeah, like a week
12.7 or something, right? So I think Mike's looking at the situation and saying, I don't know enough about Geno. I'm just trying to get my coaching staff together at this point. I'm going to lean on John when it comes to this. I'm not even thinking that far ahead. I think in that moment he feels like Geno's going to be the guy, but he goes, what, for the next 2 or 3 years? I'm not sure right now. There's so many things I would imagine Mike McDonald's is trying to get done in that facility. And like little things too, like where's the desk going to be? Or who do I talk to for this or that? Logistics is crazy right now. So I think that was an honest answer. I think he looks at Geno. Geno's 33 years old. He had his second best year in the league this year. And I know it was a down year from 2022, still his second best year in the league. And he goes, from what I see, I like this guy. But as far as 2-3 years from now, I'm not sure. There's still more I need to figure out.
I kind of thought the same thing. I thought it was more of like I have to be careful about what I say because this isn't my decision. I mean, it was one thing for Pete Carroll to say, Geno's our guy, because Pete gets to decide, along with John, whether or not Geno's the guy. McDonald doesn't. He also didn't know, like you mentioned, rightfully, what the financial situation would be because that's also not his decision. John Schneider is speaking with reporters right now at the Combine. It's not being streamed live, but we are going to see if we can get some sound for you guys. It sounds like that'll be posted. And we're also going to have John Boyle on later today, who's at that press conference right now. So we got you guys covered with the rest of it. But this is what John Schneider said today when asked a similar question. Michael Shandugar of The Athletic quotes, John Schneider says he sees Geno Smith as the Seahawks starting quarterback. Says, quote, he's the starter until he's not. That's maybe the most definitive answer I've heard about Geno Smith from anyone in the new regime or even from John Schneider.
Yeah, and this is, all right, so let's put the timeline on it.
Mm-hmm.
That Mike McDonald quote was from about a week ago, and then now we have Schneider coming out and saying, okay, this is our guy. And I think that John Schneider is going to lead the charge when it comes to personnel. And I think he should, right? He's been a GM for 14 years. It's Mike McDonald's first year. I'm not saying Mike's not gonna have input, but when it comes to what we should do in certain places, especially a quarterback, I think you lean on John Schneider. That's what he does. I would imagine that Mike McDonald is putting his staff together, and he has an idea of what type of players that he wants. But when you have a wide receiver coach like Frischman that they have over there that they got from the Steelers, he's going to get input from him. When you have Coach London, the quarterback coach, he's going to get input from him. What side of the ball do you think Mike McDonald's going to shine the most? On the defensive side. When it comes to looking at linebackers, when it comes to evaluating Jordan Brooks, when it comes to looking at Queen, who we're going to draft in the, who we're going to pick up in the draft, I think that's where Mike McDonald stands up at the table and says, all right, now it's my turn to do my thing. I imagine that everybody at that organization has their lane. Mm-hmm. Now, some lanes are wider than others. And you look at John Schneider and Mike McDonald, and they can maneuver through these lanes, put that blinker on, I'm sliding over to the right, I'm sliding over to the left. But as you cross these lanes, you get input from guys who specialize in certain positions. So when I hear John Schneider say, Geno's our guy until he's not our guy, it makes complete sense to me because he's the quarterback guy. Mike McDonald knows quarterbacks, but what do you do? I've never played offensive lineman, Stacey. Actually, I did in one game because I wanted to feel what it was like, and I got pancakes. You know what I mean? I never played offensive line, never played defensive line, never played linebacker. Do I know those positions? Can I coach them? For sure. But when I have questions about technique or what you're looking for in a guy, I lean on the guys who have done that job. Who are those guys? Dave Wyman, Ray Roberts, and then I'll hit up Cliff Averill every now and then.
I think that going back to the McDonald sound quickly before we turn to John Schneider, there are some people who are disappointed that Geno will even be here. Then there's some people disappointed that they aren't standing behind Geno as the franchise guy. Most people fall kind of in the middle, where they're like, I'm cool with Geno.
Right.
You know, I wish I had Patrick Mahomes, but 31 teams don't. I think that's how most people view quarterbacking in the NFL. Like outside of, you've talked about like outside of 5, 6, 7 teams, most people are like, yeah, I'd like to have the very best guy, ideally on a rookie deal. But am I okay or not with what we have now? And I do think a lot of people are okay with Geno. I know that we always feel like we're responding to people who aren't. I think a lot of people are like, I'm cool, just win. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what you do. Don't mess up. And of course Mike McDonald, of course John Schneider isn't going to come out and look at someone saying, is Geno the future, and go, are you an idiot? Like, I guarantee you John Harbaugh, if he was sitting down and someone said, is Justin Herbert the future for you guys, would be like, are you okay? What's wrong with you?
Right.
But there are a few teams who can look at someone in the face and go, of course he is.
Yeah.
That's just not the nature of the league when you don't have a very clear franchise starter. And unfortunately for Geno, and in some ways it's unfair because it has to do with age. He's 33.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with contract. He's a veteran. He's not on a rookie deal where you can just kind of like get him on the cheap. I guarantee you, if Geno was a rookie in 2022, a second-year player in 2023, everyone would be cool with him because they'd be like, well, what's the ceiling?
Right.
I guarantee you we would not be having this conversation. It's because Geno's 33. We're wondering if this is the ceiling. And if it is it good enough?
Well, there's a reason why there is a draft every single year. And every single year, you have about 4, 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks that are going to be drafted. Because every single year, there are quarterbacks who are transitioning into being an older guy, not living up to expectations, maybe having a couple bad seasons. Now you're demoted to a backup. That's just a circle of life when it comes to the NFL. You're never going to have 32 teams who found their guys. If you have 32 teams that found their guys, that means that by week 17, you got 32 teams for the playoffs. You got 32 teams with 10-plus wins. Something tells me mathematically that's not possible because somebody got to lose, right? So it's to find a quarterback, it's an ever lasting journey for a lot of franchises. Miami has their quarterback. Detroit has their quarterback. The Cowboys have theirs. The Bills have theirs. The Niners have theirs. Chiefs, Green Bay, Houston, Tampa, Jacksonville, LA, Baltimore, Seattle.
That's it.
That's pretty much it, guys who are this is going to be our guy next year. We're talking Justin Fields might not be with the Chicago Bears. He probably isn't going to be with the Chicago Bears next year. And you see the talent that dude has. And you're still looking at Justin Fields and saying, well, shucks, let's get him out of here and try this again. When I feel like the failures that Justin Fields have had over there with the Chicago Bears are mostly because of the talent that surrounds him and the coaching staff.